So here is the observation. We observed that in the US, Black and Hispanic populations are observed to have a higher incidence of kidney failure compared to white population. And here, incidence of kidney failure refers to the number of new cases of kidney failure per million population per year. For example, according to the most recent data reports in 2017, so roughly the adjusted incidence of kidney failure was threefold higher for Blacks and 1.5 fold higher for Hispanics compared to whites. And at this time, the reason behind the high incidence of kidney failure in Hispanics and in Blacks has not been completely understood. Because the high incidence of kidney failure does not necessarily mean the faster progression. Because it could be also possible due to the low mortality prior to kidney failure. Because a low mortality of a particular group, say, can have more people of this group staying alive to develop kidney failure. So these two different mechanisms, one is faster progression, the other is due to low mortality, has not been teased out in whether which one is a dominant reason or the population force to drive the high incidence of kidney failure that we have observed among the general population. So our study, the purpose of our study was to examine particular which reason among these two are mainly responsible for the high incidence of kidney failure among Blacks and Hispanics. We carry out, this was a large epidemiology population study, nationwide study, and with data extracted from the US veteran healthcare system. We examined 850,000 veterans who newly developed chronic kidney disease from 2002 to 2015. They were followed up to 14 years through 2016. So this was a unique study in terms of scale, in terms of nationwide coverage, in terms of longer follow-up. And we then particularly examine the risk of kidney failure and the risk of death prior to kidney failure simultaneously to understand the reason behind the high incidence of kidney failure. And what we found is that after 10 years after CKD onset, the cumulative incidence of kidney failure was 2 times higher for Hispanics and whites with CKD compared to whites. This means that indeed, after CKD onset, and Blacks and Hispanics were 2 times more likely than whites to approach kidney failure. Again, this does not necessarily mean they have a faster progression. So with this data, we next was examining the risk of kidney failure and the risk of deaths without kidney failure simultaneously. And we found that the risk of deaths before kidney failure was not much different across 3 risk groups. So meaning the 3 groups, indeed, the 3 groups had a similar mortality risk prior to kidney failure. However, in contrast, the risk of kidney failure was particularly high, was 2-fold high for Blacks and Hispanics compared to whites. And this was really consistent across age groups. And after taking into account comorbidity and gender and medication and body mass index, the risk of kidney failure was substantially greater for Blacks and Hispanics compared to whites. So in contrast to, they had a similar mortality risk before kidney failure. And we concluded that the higher incidence of kidney failure observed in the general population in Blacks and Hispanics was indeed due to a higher kidney failure risk. And we also found that this higher kidney failure risk was attributed to the faster decline in kidney function of the CKD onset. So that's our conclusion, that the high incidence of kidney failure observed in general population in these minority groups was indeed due to the faster progression, faster kidney function decline for this group, rather than because of the lower mortality rate prior to kidney failure.